We are celebrating the season here in the Poconos. This is Pocono Mountains Podcast. I'm Jim Hamill. The new year is just around the corner and 2021 is almost history. Can you believe it? We've had a lot of great stories we've shared with you, our dear viewers of Pocono Television Network and listeners of Pocono Mountains Podcast this year. From learning to ski to going back in time to share the history of the region, our hosts have been busy meeting people in the Poconos and sharing their perspectives with you. We shared our first People of the Poconos podcast a few episodes ago with Jane Kohler at the Jim Thorpe Visitor Center in episode 31. Now we have a twofer with our own Brianna Strunk and videographer Tom Gregory, two of the key components of this PTN family. More with that dynamic duo in just a bit. The Poconos is a year-round destination for millions of people, and with 2,400 square miles of forests, lakes, mountains, and rivers, with historic downtowns and iconic family resorts, it's the perfect getaway. You can always find out more on PoconoMountains.com or watch PTN, the Pocono Television Network, streaming live 24/7. Find out where you can watch that at PoconoTelevision.com. Thanks for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. We'll have a new episode each week highlighting lots of the fun things you can experience while you're visiting the Poconos. Subscribe and leave a review and or comment on whatever platform you listen. Back to the episode now. Brianna and Tom started working with each other well before their days at the Pocono Mountains Visitors Bureau and PTN. The two worked for the NBC and CBS affiliates in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and were based out of the Pocono newsroom. I, too, spent more than a decade in local news at the ABC affiliate in the same market, so we used to be competitors, but now we're a formidable team covering the 4 counties of the Pocono Mountains, bringing you lots of interesting stories you hear here on the podcast and you see on PTN. Please enjoy this conversation with Tom and Brianna on Pocono Mountains Podcast. Welcome to Pocono Mountains Podcast, everyone. It's your host, Jim Hamill, along with some very familiar folks to the Pocono Television Network here, including a voice heard often on Pocono Mountains Podcast. We are at Barley Creek Tasting Room at the Crossings Premium Outlets, Tannersville, and we are joined by Brianna Strunk from Pocono Television Network, one of the hosts with the most, and her videographer, Tom Gregory. These two have been working together for many a year now, having come over from the news side, just like I did a few years back. And now we are a team bringing these stories to you from the four corners of the Pocono Mountains. Tom, Brianna, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We really appreciate you joining us.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for having us. This is interesting.
It is interesting. The podcast has kind of developed into taking a lot of the stories that we do on the Pocono roads and turning them into the podcast. But here we get a moment to kind of like get, the real feel for who you guys are as people. I mean, it's great to share like this opportunity to tell stories with you guys. We do our monthly show, so we spend a lot of time together. And I think that your relationship is one of those things that just makes everybody crack up, because you guys are like brothers and sisters. You guys fight a lot.
Oh yes, like cats and dogs.
They're all silly, dumb fights over minor little things. But you know what? In the end, though, the product comes out good, and we kind of think alike a little bit. So
it is good. The product is always good. You guys have been working together since your news days. Brianna, you interned with WBRE, the NBC affiliate in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and then Tom really kind of taught you the ropes a little bit, I assume.
Yeah, Jim, as you know, I was born and raised here in the Pocono Mountains. It was always my intentions to stay here. I love the Poconos. So I went to high school locally. I went to East Stroudsburg University. I always knew that I wanted to be a reporter, and I enjoyed performing and being in front of the camera. So I took up an internship while at ESU at WBRE TV, the Pocono newsroom on Main Street in Stroudsburg, and that's where I met Tom and the former Pocono reporter at the time, and things just happened that I graduated college, became the Pocono reporter. Tom and I worked together as a team covering all the news throughout the Poconos for many years, about 5 years, and then I left to take up this amazing job at the Pocono Mountains Visitors Bureau, and I don't know what happened, but Tom followed me.
It was several months later. I mean, I kind of followed you, I guess. But,
That's the first time you're admitting that, so I appreciate
I
that.
didn't really follow you, but...
Against your best advice, right?
Well, yeah, against my best advice. But no, I mean, it was tough. I mean, I worked in news a very long time, and it was ever-changing, and the product was, staffs were smaller and things like that. It was just becoming harder and harder to tell your stories in news. But, I mean, we enjoyed kind of working together, and then when this opportunity came up at the Visitors Bureau, I figured that, give it a shot and see what happens. I mean, we're doing different stories now, but we're still covering the same area that we used to cover when we were together in news, and we're telling the brighter side of the Poconos.
We sure are. And you came in March of 2020. So that did present for us, especially as former news gatherers, an opportunity to help message to the public what was happening throughout the entire pandemic. And then finally, when things started to abate a little bit, we got to kind of get into that rhythm, and we started up the show, the monthly show, and we've been just turning out stories, every single month en masse. And it's really been a great opportunity, don't you think, Tom? I'm sure those opportunities to edit those shows on tight deadline by the end of the month has been a real joy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. In news, you have that day-to-day deadline.
Right.
Here we have kind of that month-to-month deadline. But it's a lot more effort putting into a 1-hour show every month almost than it is putting in 2 or 3 stories a day, because you're really churning out a lot near the end.
That's right.
Because you really need people available to you for interviews. You really need to, get to the places. You need weather to cooperate for you. Things like that. So there's a lot of variables with what we do versus what we did in news.
So we have a new Pocono Mountains magazine that we're working on. You guys want to give any insights into what you've been doing this last week? I know you guys were in Mount Pocono.
Yeah, so Jim, our shared vision is highlighting not only our big resorts here in the Poconos, but also giving a lot of love and attention to our downtown districts, because they're amazing, they deserve attention, and you can get lost all day in a downtown district. So last month on Pocono Mountains magazine, we went exploring Stroudsburg, and we thought, let's keep that theme going with exploring our small towns. So we went to Mount Pocono, and we found a few family-friendly businesses that we stopped by and highlighted. So visiting Mount Pocono or any of the Poconos downtown districts, especially on a cold or rainy day, we're giving viewers a glimpse at some of the activities they can do to escape the weather. So highlighting Mount Pocono is definitely something that's going to be really cool, right, Tom?
Yeah, it's a pretty neat town. It's kind of small, and it's at the top of the plateau, so it's kind of always a little bit chilly up there, a little bit windy, but there is enough to do to keep you busy for a day for sure.
And when you talk, like, you guys go out there and people already know who you are from the standpoint of you spend a lot of time here covering the news. And so it's got to be great to have those relationships already built up with people in the community. Tom's got a big phone book on his phone where he can call anybody day or night. Same with you, Brianna.
Yeah, I think, ever since I was little, I always wanted to be a reporter. And I love the Poconos so much that I know for a lot of reporters, it's their dream to go to a big market. I really never shared in that vision. I always wanted to stay in the Poconos. So making the switch to the Pocono Mountains Visitors Bureau, it felt right. And leaving news, what we're doing at the Visitors Bureau, like you said, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of similarities. We're still touching and interacting with the same members that we dealt with in news. For instance, in our Mount Pocono story, Pocono Rocks, we did so many stories with them in our news days, and going back and getting to see them and catch up with them. And of course, they remember us and they love us just as much as we love them. So being able to continue growing those bonds and those relationships with businesses in the Poconos. Tom's from this area, I'm from this area. We really care about the Poconos. And I like to say that I know every road and every pothole in the Poconos from being born and raised here. So to be able to, show some of those hidden gems and to bring those to the masses, especially to visitors on Pocono Mountains magazine, it's kind of like we're giving a behind the scenes insider guide to visitors, showing what they can do and see here.
Yeah, it's amazing because sometimes you go to places, for as long as we've been out in the Poconos working together, you still go to places that maybe sometimes you didn't know about. And you get there and you're like, wow, this is pretty incredible. Like even yesterday in Mount Pocono, I'd never been to Bailey's Steakhouse as part of our Mount Pocono story. Wow, what a wonderful place. Beautiful inside. I mean, the food was spectacular. Really nice atmosphere, and that's kind of some of the part of the Poconos that makes it special. Everything has its own unique atmosphere, and it's different style. Whether you're at the top of the mountains or you're down below in the valleys, it's always nice.
Now, you just mentioned the word unique. I think that a lot of our colleagues would agree. Your guys' relationship is a little bit unique. You guys can give it to each other sometimes. You give it to him for his driving skills, right?
I mean, I'm saying that we know the Poconos, but this guy, he doesn't remember where we're going. Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Tom, I'm trying to do something else. I can't be showing you how to get down the road, So, yeah.
Yeah, I like to say I have a big needle, and I like to needle Brianna. Sometimes she cracks me up when she gets a little fired up. She's kind of like my caffeine,
Right.
She keeps me going.
Speaking of caffeine,
Right.
Jim, you know that we're very, very busy in this role. I have a 1-year-old. I have always loved coffee. So, Tom is my driver. He's the driver of the PTN vehicle. So we always have to stop at Dunkin' drive-thru to refuel, and every time we go through the drive-thru, he throws a fit. All this for hot flavored water? And I used to just have to put it on Snapchat, and all my friends would wait to see videos of Tom on Snapchat because he's just become a sensation.
Well, I never had a cup of coffee in my life, so I don't quite understand the attraction of coffee for people. So it just, to me, like I said, it's just hot flavored water, and then you throw ice on it, which I don't quite get. So I don't understand the obsession with coffee, because you can go to Dunkin' or Starbucks at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. It's always jammed, and it drives me nuts to sit in line to get a cup of coffee that I don't even drink, because I don't drink coffee.
I would hate to see Tom on coffee, though. Right?
Yeah, I don't think he needs any coffee.
No. Oh man, you guys are priceless. So you guys have spent a lot of time together. You look forward to probably continuing in the new year, a lot of the different things that you guys have been doing, which are, trying skiing for the first time, or heading out and kind of promoting, picking up the Poconos, or any of those kind of things. This is really in our wheelhouse of trying to help people understand these are the things that really accentuate the good things in the Poconos and the things that we can do to make them better.
I'll tell you what, last year during COVID, a lot of people were getting outside, and even me, I haven't skied since 1992, I believe, 93.
Don't date yourself now, don't date yourself.
Date myself a little bit. But last year, my daughter took a snowboard lesson. She did a story for people again, and that she wanted to go back out, so I'm like, okay, I'll put the skis back on. I had many knee surgeries over the years, so I was a little reluctant, but I went back out, I did it, and we went probably 5 or 6 times at the end of last year, and then at the end of the year, I ended up buying skis, so I'm all ready for this year.
You and me both, man. Yeah. You could teach a few old dogs some new tricks,
Yeah. Well, you learned to snowboard this year.
I don't know if it was so much learning as learning what not to do.
Brianna learned to ski last year, so.
Yeah?
Yeah, learned to ski a few months after having a baby. That was interesting and fun, but we give the people what they want. They want some engaging content, we're going to give it to them.
Absolutely. We'll do anything for that, We're looking forward to this upcoming episode of Pocono Mountains Magazine. Of course, you can find us at PoconoTelevision.com. Where else do you guys reside? Tom, you're not a social media guy. Brianna, you are a social media gal. Tell us where you can find you.
I sure am. I'm very active on Facebook, so if you just look up Brianna Strunk, S-T-R-U-N-K, you can find me on Facebook, and also Twitter, at BStrunkNews. You can tell I haven't changed my Twitter handle since leaving news, so maybe I'll see if B Strunk Poconos is available or something like that.
Strunk Poconos.
And you won't find me on social media, so. And I like to kind of old school. I'm still a newspaper guy, and I just kind of enjoy reading things and watching things.
Reading things and watching things. Tom is such a well-spoken individual who, his dry humor will have you cracking up. I'm glad you guys were able to join the podcast here on Pocono Mountains Podcast. I think we should just stick a microphone in the car, though, at some point, and just do the unedited version of Tom and Brianna.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to hear that. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, that might be pretty rough someday. You'll have to have the beeper ready.
Is there anything you guys want to leave our listeners with here as people of the Poconos? We've talked to Jane, who's a wonderful face, as people are welcome to the Jim Thorpe Visitor Center. You guys are some of the behind the scenes and in front of the camera folks on PTN. And so anything you want to leave folks with talking about the Poconos and the network and all the work that we do.
Well, I just hope that, when we do a story, I hope it leaves a mark, helps out the business that we're doing the story at, it helps bring tourists in, and it helps educate people a little bit. I mean, we do a lot of history stories as well, about different education. We're going to Stroud Mansion this month as well, going back to some of the history of the mansion, which is 100 years old, right? The Historical Association there in Monroe County.
Yeah, so there's a lot of history.
Pretty interesting tidbits there, so it should be a pretty good episode.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is, I was born and raised here in the Poconos, so I think about where I spent my time growing up, my favorite vacation spot, and I have so many memories, and I just think about the millions of people who come here to the Poconos, and this is their memory every year. And to be able to show people what they can do, not just during the summer, but year-round, winter, spring, summer, fall. There's something to do here in the Poconos. And, people can Google things to do in the Poconos, but we show you what to do, and we show you things that you're not going to find on Google. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important because people want to know everything they can do, and we showcase a variety of things they can do year-round.
It's like your curated playlist.
Exactly.
Right? That's what we're all about, is curating your experiences that you can share in here. Maybe you don't want to do it the same way I did on the ski slopes with a snowboard, right, Tom? A lot of black and blue.
Broken microphones.
Oh, hey. Listen, we don't need to let everybody out there in podcast land know what happens to our gear. But I love working with you guys. It's a new adventure every day, and we do have a really great region for people to visit, people to live. And, looking forward to another year of it. It's going to go by like that, but we're having a good time doing it, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly are.
Yep.
We're not used to being interviewed, so thanks for making this so easy.
Hey.
Much better not being on camera, though.
Tom's definitely a little bit more comfortable behind the camera. So he goes, well, I don't even listen to podcasts. I don't get people just listening to people talking. Well, there's folks out there listening, Tom. So we reached them today.
He doesn't know how he feels about that.
I don't know about that either.
On that note, thank you again for joining us here on Pocono Mountains Podcast. Brianna Strunk, Tom Gregory, the dynamic duo for PTN. See him around the Poconos, driving to the PTN vehicle. Give him a holler next time you see him. Thanks for joining us, both of you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, back to the show. Brianna and Tom, as you can tell, are quite the twosome. And while they give each other plenty of grief, you can tell it's all coming from the right place. They know the Poconos, and it shows. We'll share a story they worked on together recently in just a moment. I grew up here in the Poconos, and now we're covering the Poconos on PTN.
We go to all the big events, like the races.
And we visit all the small towns all across the 4 counties of the Poconos.
We know the Pocono roads and off-roads. But no matter how much we cover the Poconos,
it is really hard to keep up with these two.
Don't give up the ship!
The Pocono Television Network, everywhere you are. And it's streaming live at PoconoTelevision.com. We're back. Thanks for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. I'm Jim Hamill. Just recently, Brianna and Tom went to Great Wolf Lodge after its Magi Quest interactive kids game reopened. Have a listen. At
Great Wolf Lodge in the Poconos, you can splash, stay, and play. Here, you'll also find
100 gold, as numerous as the stars.
A magical fantasy forest.
Be brave and true, Magi. Valara needs your help.
Every time 12-year-old Gianna Carucci visits the indoor water park resort, she plays Magi Quest, a live-action adventure game spread throughout the lodge.
I like how I get to run around the hotel looking for things and to stop a dragon. I think that's really cool. And I like how I could be part of a video game, it feels like.
Here's how it works. Guests enter the fantasy realm of Valara. meeting different characters, learning spells, and solving challenges along the way.
By the end, you've solved the mystery of the mysterious evil that's been corrupting Valara, and you become a Master Magi. And then we celebrate those players' achievements in a ceremony each day.
Silly Magi!
Magi Quest has been a resort staple since 2006. The scavenger hunt-like game was recently revamped with an enhanced storyline, graphics, and music.
Incredibly exciting, and what I love about it and what we love about it is it's immersive. It's literally throughout the resort, so families come together, they spend time together, they bond together.
And you'll want to keep your personalized magic wand tucked away in a special place. Because Magi Quest takes several hours to complete, the wand holds powers, allowing guests to pick back up on their game later or during a future trip.
There is nothing else like this in the world. I mean, kids love video games, but how often do you get to play a video game in real life where you're making the magic happen with something that's actually in your hand? You can't do that at home. You can only do that at Great Wolf.
Over the years, Gianna has practically grown up here, her mom documenting each trip through photos.
She just always wants to be here to play Magi Quest, which is really true. That's her favorite thing, not even the water park, believe it or not. Kids love that. She wants to come just for Magi Quest.
200 gold! Don't spend it all in one place.
A true treasure here in the Poconos. For the Pocono Television Network, I'm Brianna Strunk.
Brianna Strunk and Tom Gregory, the two who just brought you that story from Great Wolf Lodge, and just two of the Pocono people who make this a great place to visit. Hope you get to meet them when you find yourself in the Poconos next. Thanks so much for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. You can subscribe to us anywhere podcasts are available. And please, make a point to come visit us in the Pocono Mountains in 2022. You can plan your trip right now.